Hey everybody, it's Angela, and I am doing guest design team for SaCrafters for this month and next month. So I'll have 4 different projects using her products coming up in the next 2 months. And I'm going to do this baby album with that chipboard onesie mini album. And I pulled out all this other SaCrafters product. And this is going to be a baby boy mini album. I had previously done the little girl dress album, and I had done that shabby chic. And so this one I want to do with more of a clean, crisp feeling and a little more masculine for a boy. And so a lot of these are either transportation or flight related embellishments, and I'm not sure exactly which ones I'm going to use. So I just pulled out a bunch to have them to the side. And then I also have these little tags. And so I'm just going to push those to the side so I know what I've got to pull from. And then the paper collections that I'm going to use, I'm going to pull out a couple, are these My Mind's Eye, Find Your Wings and Fly. This is the Up and Away collection, and I like it because it is kind of masculine with those mustaches and stuff on there. And it's got some cameras, and then another Find Your Wings and Fly, which is the I'm not sure which collection this is. It's the one with the top hats. So it's also kind of masculine, and it's got the hot air balloons. I think it's Come Fly Away. And then I'm also going to mix that with this Everyday Eclectic by Alison Kreft. And it also has hot air balloons, and the colors really go together well. So I thought I'd throw this collection in there too to pull from. And let's see here. The thing I'm going to start with is, since the collections I'm using have a bright white undertone, I'm just going to do the edges of my chipboard white. And then when I put the paper on top, I'm going to use some Tim Holtz tea dye to do the edges of the paper. But the edges of the chipboard I want to be white. And then if my paper if I don't cut it exactly to the shape of the onesie, it's not really going to show because it'll just be white. Or at least that's what I'm hoping, because I can't cut perfectly. So, but you can't tell once you take an emery board to it and ink it and stuff. Yeah, it looks good. So I just did that to all the pages. And there are 5 pages in this mini album. And this is the small size. She also has a larger size onesie album. She has the little girl dress album, and then of 2 sizes, and I think a baby bottle album that's 2 sizes. So great for a shower gift, especially this one with those paper collections and it being a onesie. This album would work for either a boy or a girl. So if you don't know if they're waiting to find out the sex of the baby and you want to do a shower gift, you can certainly do this one ahead of time. And, just put photo mats in it and let the mother put the photos in later. So what I do is I trace around it, and then I cut inside the line that I traced. And then I'm just going to take my trusty glue stick here. It's a Pioneer glue stick. And get some good coverage on that. And then I kind of line up my paper and take a bone folder and just make sure it's stuck down really good. Any paper, like I said, I am not perfect when it comes to getting these cut out. So I cut off any big pieces, and then I take an emery board and just kind of sand the edge of the paper. So I'm not sanding off the white paint that I put on the edges, just kind of I've got the emery board at an angle, so it just kind of gets the paper. And that, kind of gives it a finished look. And then I take some Tim Holtz ink, and again, I'm just kind of going on top the paper. And you could just, instead of doing white paint on the edges, you could just, leave it with the brown chipboard. You could take an ink dabber or whatever and do your edges with ink instead of with paint. So after I covered all those pages, I had lots of scraps left over. So I just took them and I used this. I think this is the who is that? Well, this is the Sizzix, and I used all of those dies. In that first die collection, I just used the bow die, think it was Maggie Holmes. I used the two smallest of these spellbinders. These are the label 8. I used the two smaller ones on that. On these, I just used the smallest pinwheel or medallion shape there. I think that one's like Carnival Dream. And I used the smallest one on this, which is Spectacular Spin. And those are always fun. I wanted to do something that wasn't floral, that was a little more fun. So that's what I did. I just took my scraps from covering the pages and cut those shapes out. And then I printed all those little photos you see in that other pile. And there are my pages all covered. And I wanted to put a frame on the front, but all I had were these frames from the dollar bin, and they were a little fussy and formal. So I also went into my SaCrafters products, and I had these little Polaroid frames of hers, so I'm pulling out one of those. And then I also see these word fragments in there, so I want to go ahead and pull out some of those to use as well. And I'm not going to paint my SaCrafters products this time, because some of the paper collection has craft color in it, and the wood goes really well with the craft. And then I'm also going to add cork in as well, so all those color tones will kind of go with each other. So I'm not going to actually paint them this time. And so I'm choosing a photo to go in that frame. I'm going to put that on the front page. So this is going to be my kind of bulkiest page because it's going to be on the front. And the other pages I'm going to try to keep, from getting too thick. So there, I just cut out that little photo. And this one, I do have the photos already, so I'm going to fill it. But, if you were doing this as a gift for a baby shower or something like that, you could just put photo mats on there and leave it blank. So I'm just going to take the rings off so I can work on this. And I just take my medallions, and these, what you do is you turn up these little triangles of those medallions after you cut them out. And then it makes this fun little kind of a pinwheel shape. So they're really cute. And I think I had gotten these at like Tuesday morning, these die cuts. So they, weren't too expensive. And so I did a couple of those. And then I just did a bunch of like pinked circles and all those label shapes and the bows. So yeah, so let's see. While I do this, I probably should have cut some of this out. I'll tell you a little bit about the farm. So I've been gone a lot. Springtime came early here, and so we had to hustle to get our beans and wheat in the ground. And we have finally done that. My hubby has just been spreading organic fertilizer for the last 2 days. So, but all the seeds are planted, and it was, I'm not getting any younger, so it just is really hard physically to tromp around that field. We planted more fruit trees, so I think we have like 150 fruit and nut trees in the orchard now. And so just even with the backhoe digging the holes, just planting all those trees and trudging back and forth and, filling in the holes and all of that, and climbing up onto equipment and back down off equipment. Physically, I'm really feeling it. And I know, I work out 3 times a week already and stuff, and it's tough. So coming back to the city and working and sitting in a chair is like vacation after being on the farm. So I go down there and I spent 4 days working on the farm, and then I come back, a 3-hour drive back to the city, and spent 3 days working in the office, and then drive back down to the farm and work another 3 or 4 days, and then come back to the city. So it's just been back and forth. But once everything's in the ground, it's kind of up to Mother Nature, to water it and for it to grow. So we'll be done with that for a little while. We still have other stuff to plant, you know, potatoes and work on the irrigation, and you know, it's a farm, so it just never ends. But the biggest time crunch item is done now, so that's good. And as you can see, I've just been playing around with the shapes. I finished doing all my little medallions, and now I've just matted that frame and put it on the front. And I have these Michael's flowers, and some of the colors go pretty good with this. I think I could use 2 out of that collection. But the little pearl centers were too, I don't know, sophisticated, girly, I don't know. They just didn't quite fit in. So I want to use those flowers and put the little medallions that I made on top. So I just took the flower center off, glued on one of my paper medallions, and then I'm going to put an enamel dot, which is a little less fussy, in the center. And I'm using my glue gun to do these just because, you know, with the front of it and stuff, it's going to get handled a lot and stuff. So I want it to really stay stuck together. So I have another package of these flowers that has a color I can use. So I think I wind up using 3 flowers in this mini album. And I don't know, it just makes them look a little less floral and a little more fun. So that's kind of what I was going for, but I wanted something that would kind of soften that down. So I'm really liking that. And those are the little bows that I made out of the Maggie Holmes die cut. And I'm going to put that bow up on top of that wood veneer frame. And it's okay that it's that high because, like I said, this is the cover, so I'm going to let that be a little more dimensional. And I also have the Studio 112 chipboard out of the dollar bin, and I pull off a couple of those that I might use. I think I only wind up using one of them, but... And then those round craft items were out of a Scraptastic kit, as well as these tabs that I had left over from when I got the Scraptastic This Life Noted kits. So it's just a lot of leftover pieces that I've pulled out of my stash. Mostly it's just the paper collection that I've cut up with my die cuts, and then the SaCrafters things, and then just a couple things from my stash to kind of supplement it. So you really don't need much, you know, because the paper comes with a sticker pack. So, and here's where I said I have some cork items to kind of go with the craft and wood that I'm using to give those brown color tones throughout the album. So I just have these little craft or cork stars. So I'm going to put a couple of those on there. And then that's going to pretty much do it for the front. I forgot to go and put his name. I'm going to use some little tiny type alphas to put Mason on that tab. And so that's what'll be on that tab later. And then now I'm trying to decide what to do on this next page. And I want to pull some more of that craft in. So I'm going to go ahead and mount my photo on. That's a Project Life card that, I don't know, I'm not into that whole diamond motif. So I'm just going to stick my photo right over that and just use the card to map my photo. And that's what I do with a lot of my cards. They give you so many, and I don't actually do Project Life with them. I usually scrapbook or do in mini albums and stuff. So it doesn't bother me to cut into them and use them for other purposes as long as they get used. So that brings in some craft, and then like I said, this is left over from a Scraptastic kit, and it just says heart this. And then I want to use one of SaCrafters' little butterflies on there. And now I just thought I wanted to back that craft piece with some colored paper, so I'm just going to use one of those pinked circles that I cut out and put a little bit of quick dry adhesive on the back. I'm just kind of smearing the glue around with my finger there. And then that'll give a little extra color, since that background paper is just the one color. I wanted to bring in a few more colors. And then I also used one of those little banner pieces that I cut out. And then there is the little butterfly. And then I have one of her other butterflies that has some kind of open cut work on the wings. And so I'm putting that one on the bottom. So I just really like that. I think she has now even a third one, maybe a third or a fourth one. So I need to go and order a couple more. And then I'm just looking through all of my little label stickers to see, about other stuff I can use for layering and interest. So I pull out some ones that have the right color. And then I also try to remember that I do have this chipboard and these sticker sheets from my other collections. Although they are kind of large because they are sized for scrapbooking. And this is the smaller size mini album. She has a bigger sized one. But there's still some stuff on there that I can use. I just don't happen to use one on this page. So now I'm looking for some word fragments to put on that banner. I think I just chose this moment and then heart this is what that tag says at the bottom. So I'm going to call that done. And go on to the next page. And this is again another one that has the craft on it. And although I didn't plan it when I went into this, because I pulled a lot of different SaCrafters transportation themed embellishments, but I wind up using mostly just flight themed. And I wasn't thinking about it as I was making it, but when I looked at it after I was done, I was like, I used 2 different kinds of birds, a couple kinds of butterflies, then I used an airplane, a kite, just everything that was, more flight themed. And then that worked really well with these hot air balloons and stuff like that. So I just mounted my picture on another project life card. And now I'm looking through those stickers and find this little tab that I can use. And then I go back and forth as to what else to use on this one. I start out with that star and then I look at the arrow, but I wind up going with this little bird clip because I just thought it was so sweet. And then I remembered that I had a bird SaCrafters item, so I thought I would put birds on this one. And I was just checking there to see if I had offset my elements, because I like to offset the MDF elements so that it doesn't make my mini album too thick. So here's where I use that little Studio 112 chipboard piece just to give my bird something to sit on, and it has the little mustache on it. So I'm really glad to be able to use those mustaches because I'm not really into that mustache craze, and yet they come in some of the other stuff that I've gotten, so I'm glad to be able to use them up. So now I'm going on to this next page. And I love that word fragment, charming, because he's like a little Prince Charming. And so I'm going to cut my photos down a little bit so that they'll fit on that project life card that I've got there. And that's another one that has kind of a craft tone to it. So it brings in more of that kind of brown color. I was having a hard time getting it on there straight, and I'm still having problems getting it on there straight. And then I call it quits there, I think. Like, no, I'm not picking that up again. So there I put the card on there, and then I want to use another one of those little pinwheel flower things that I made. And then I also decide to put this hot air balloon, since there was no other hot air balloons on this paper, and I want to make sure to kind of distribute them evenly throughout the whole album. So hot air balloons is going to be kind of a theme. And Saw actually has some little MDF hot air balloons that I wish I would have had. I'm going to have to place an order for some to have some on hand, because I think it works really well for a little boy album or a little boy scrapbook page. And I have more stickers and stuff that are, and paper that are hot air balloons, so that would look really cute in here. So that's another page done. And then this one has hot air balloons on it. So I'm just deciding which photos to use of what I had printed out. And so I'm looking at that Project Life card. And I'm just setting a few things on there to, see if they'll work and see what I like. And sometimes that's harder than other times. So I go back into my cards because I'm just not liking the background paper that I have for the mat. So I decide to go and pick out a few more out of my Project Life cards, just so I have some choices. And I like that yellow. It matches really good to the yellow of the, I don't know, would that be a gondola? I don't know, the little basket on the hot air balloon. And then again, this is one where, I don't necessarily need that sentiment, because I have other cards that if I really want to use that sentiment, I can. So I just go ahead and stick my photo right over it. And I find that sticker that says "So sweet." And this is a picture of my stepson, his wife, and then the baby is in between him, and all you see are the bottoms of all three of their feet. So it's a really cute photo. So on this one, I decide to use the kite. And after putting this on, in retrospect, I wish I would have backed the kite with colored paper, but I don't. And, I've hot glued it on, so I'm not going to go back and change it. But yeah, I don't know why I didn't. I've used these kites before and backed them, and it wasn't an issue, but I just kind of forgot, I guess. So what I like to do is kind of bunch the end up and glue it down, and then I kind of twist the ribbon as I move it along, and then I tack it down in a few different places, so it kind of gives it that floating look. And then I'm trying to figure out what I want to put below the picture to fill that in, and I'm liking this label, so I'm just gonna use some of the Tim Holtz to kind of make it stand out a little more. And there I'm going to twist the ribbon again and tack it down. And I think I do it one more time. So it just gives the kite a little tail, gives it a little bit more of a sense of motion and flight. And then I think also on this one, I put a few more of those little cork stars, since I don't have any craft or anything on this particular page. At least I think I do. Or maybe not. And there I'm just checking to see how thick it's getting and if I'm, offsetting stuff well enough. Oh, here's the stars. Just put a little bit of hot glue on those because they're not very sticky, so. So I think that's it for that page. And then I think on this yellow one, I go back and forth, and yeah, that was hard. And at one point, my camera cuts off and I don't see that it's shut down. Probably I couldn't hear it beep because I had the music up too loud, but I'll show you, I think there's like 2 pages that don't get in the video, so I'll show you those at the end. And here I am looking through more of the pieces, and like I said, I didn't intentionally pick the flight theme. I was going for thinking of a transportation theme, but it winds up being mostly flight. But I do want to use these, do a transportation themed scrapbook layout or something for him at some point. I love that little owl. It is so cute. So I kind of go back and forth, and this one wasn't speaking to me. So I think I go on to another page and then come back to it, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, my other projects that I'm going to be doing for Saw, I think there's a shadow box and a shelf unit, and what was the other? Or was it maybe a little drawer unit, a shadow box, and then maybe another bigger shadow box. So I've got some cool projects to work on, some new stuff to try out. And then of course, you know, I'll do some scrapbook layouts in between as well. And I'll also be doing, I want to do an altered book or junk journal for my subbies who like to see the journals. And since hopefully I'll be having more time now that all the wheat's in the ground. So I'm just going back and forth, and like I said, I try on this page for a while, and I think this is the one I give up on and go on to something else if I'm not mistaken. But I dip into this other stack of flowers because there's another one that has a color that I can use. So I wind up making a third one of those little medallion type flowers out of that. Yep, there, I just set it aside. I'm like, no, I'm done. So I go on to this one, and I love that paper with the little things hanging down. It has a little top hat and a little mustache hanging down there. So it kind of has that masculine feel to it already. And I like that the owl kind of sits up there in the, where the other stuff is kind of hanging down. And so I'm just going to let him perch there on the top of my photo. And that's just so cute. And then I look for something else to go toward the bottom, and so I choose that chipboard piece, and I just go ahead and put it on one of those pinked circles. And I can't, from my tiny screen here where I'm narrating, I can't see what that says, and I don't have it in front of me, but something about dreaming. So then my camera shut off, and so it was only like 2 pages, I think 2 or 3, that didn't get filmed. So here is the front page, and as you can see, I also put a little bit of seam binding on one of the binder rings, and that's the same seam binding I used for the kite tail. And then here is the second page. Really simple, plenty of room that, you know, if mom wants to journal on there a little bit, there are spaces for that. And there's that one with the little charming word fragment on there. And then this is the little birds, the bird clip and the little MDF bird. And then here's one that didn't get filmed. I used the other bow with some stickers, and then the airplane MDF piece. And then this is the kite page. Just says so sweet, and that's the one where I wish I would have backed the kite maybe in yellow or something. And then this is another one. I used the family word fragment on the bottom, a sticker, and another one of the little medallions that I had made with the die cut. And then here's the little owl. It says follow your dreams on that chipboard piece. And he's fast asleep there dreaming away. And then this last one, it says away we go sticker, and I used another one of the MDF butterflies, my last little medallion flower, and a little banner piece so I can write maybe the date he was born on that. And I didn't do anything on the back, I just left it plain. And what's great is that this will splay out and stand up on a shelf. So you could flip it over to whatever page you want to display at the time and set it on a shelf in the baby's room, and it'll be really cute. So thank you guys so much for watching, and if you have any questions or anything, just leave me a comment below, and I'll have links to all of Sa's products down in the comments section. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.